What's Good podcast.
Are you ready?
Your number one source
to all the keys in the industry.
With Brianna Jovahn.
It's the What's Good podcast.
What's good? Hey, ladies and gents, this is your girl, Brianna Jovahn, and we are here with another episode of What's Good podcast, season 8. And as you guys know, we are still focused on real estate, but today we're going to talk about finance. We have with us Crystal. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we always start off with an icebreaker. Are you ready for yours?
Yes, let's go.
Okay, so your icebreaker is, if you could have dinner with any financial guru, dead or alive, who would it be and what's the first question you'd ask?
Oh, definitely Warren Buffett.
Nice.
And one of the first questions I would ask was, how did he come to the strategies that he has been able to implement?
Nice.
So now it's second nature, but he had to get to that point. You know, he had to understand how to become the investor that he is. So I want to know what motivated him.
Nice. I think that's good. We're going to go ahead and get started with our genuine conversation.
Okay.
We always start off with who is the guest. So tell us, who is Crystal?
So I am a mother of 2 beautiful girls. I am a financial advisor. I have been a financial advisor for 18 years, so it's the only career I've ever known. And I am an investor. I also own some real estate, so I understand that market very well. And you know, I'm just a woman finding her way.
Oh, I love that. So I want to go back in time a little bit regarding your journey. What made you get into finance? Because like you mentioned, 18 years is a long time, and that's your only career.
Yes.
Nowadays, people transition from one, but you've been solid into finance, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about how you got into the industry.
So it was actually interesting because I never set out to be a financial advisor. I didn't even know what a financial advisor was growing up. I had never heard of one, never seen one, so it wasn't something that I aspired to. I was always good with money as a kid, but I never wanted to be an accountant. That was the only thing I knew that was in finance. I'm like, I don't want to be behind a computer typing in numbers. So I didn't have any desire for that. So I was going to be a lawyer.
Okay.
I was like, listen, you gonna have me in them suits in the courtroom, baby.
Being real cute, like.
Yeah, you ain't gonna know what to tell with me, right? And you know, growing up in my day and age, it was like doctors and lawyers.
Right.
That was it. So you either wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer, maybe a teacher if you like kids, you know what I mean? But it really wasn't a whole lot outside of that. So my cousins wanted to be a doctor. Shout out to him because he did actually become a doctor.
Nice.
Good for you, sir. And I was going to go to be a lawyer. My school situation kind of didn't work out in my favor to go to law school.
Gotcha.
So I graduated from college, but I didn't take my exam, my LSAT exam in time to get into my law school. So I sat a year out and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And so I was working in retail and I had this lady who I to this day call my angel because she came through my line. We struck up a conversation and I had just learned about an IRA and I remember being so excited. I was like, ooh, they pay you money for your money? Like, that is bomb. So we struck up a conversation and she was like, oh, you're interested in investments? And I was like, yes, I am actually. She happened to be a manager at Fidelity.
Okay.
So she was like, come and apply at Fidelity, get a job there. And so I did exactly that. And I got a job. I never saw her again in my life.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. That's why I say she's my angel.
Your angel. I can see that
because she opened me up to this world that I had no clue about. I would have never went and done it on my own. But because she told me to do it, I did it. And that's what started my whole journey. I started at Fidelity, got licensed, and have been in this industry ever since.
I love that. Okay, so when I heard about IRAs too, I was like, okay, sign me up.
Right.
Because I have an accounting background. I had the same feeling that when I was doing my accounting classes and things of that nature, everybody was like, your personality is not supposed to be behind a desk.
Thank you.
You are just too much fun to be, you know, just stuck and counting numbers. And I'm like, well, what else can I do?
Exactly.
And so it sounds to me, when you went to Fidelity, it was more so for you to get to know more about finance?
Yes.
Or was it more so of let me just figure out this new career path because you was going to be a lawyer, but now you found this new industry?
So by the time I went to Fidelity, I had given up the dreams of being a lawyer because once I didn't get into school, once you take a break from school, it's real hard to go back.
Agreed.
Especially, I was like, I don't know if I really wanted to do that. I was already starting a family at that time. So I really was like, I need to pick a career. You know what I mean? I needed to get into an industry. I needed some benefits. Okay.
You need all of that.
Let's keep it all the way 100. Like, I needed some benefits because I was about to have a baby. So I was like, I had found out I was pregnant and everything. So that's really what I went there for. And I was like, I do want to learn about all this stuff. Because personally, I don't have anybody else to teach me this. And I knew that I was good with money, but all I knew was to save it. I didn't know anything about investing. So understanding that I could learn this, I was like, oh, let me find out. And it was so crazy because I was so naive to the industry to the point where I was taking my, studying for my licenses. I didn't even know what the licenses were for.
Gotcha.
I just knew they said, you're going to need to take these licenses and keep your job. I said, okay, bet. And so I did just that. And I remember one of my coworkers sitting next to me, and he was a white guy, and he was like, do you even know what this test is for? Mind you, I'm like, this test is for my job.
Right.
Like,
this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right, exactly. This was my Series 7, so my stockbroker's license. So he was like, this is a stockbroker license. This means we can go work on Wall Street once we're licensed with this. I said, wait, what? That's how naive I was to what I was even doing. So that's why I said I know it was an angel coming to me, because I would have never even known that I could be in that because I've never seen it. I've never been exposed to it. I did not know what I was doing, but I know that it was orchestrated for me to do it that way because that was the entry level. Those were entry level companies. So they get you licensed, they get you into learning the basics about investments. And then every company that I have worked at since has progressed me gradually in my career.
Nice.
It has been so phenomenal to see because I started with my foundation there. I moved to another company that got me more licenses so that I became the stockbroker license, the investment advisor license.
Nice.
So like when I say financial advisor, I mean all
Put some respect on it.
Exactly. Put some respect on my name, okay? Because a lot of people will use that term loosely.
Yeah.
And they just say that they're a financial advisor, and they're not, because you're not licensed as an investment advisor to give advice. That's what you're supposed to do, when you want to become an advisor. So I went through that, got more licenses, and then I got to be, from that second job, I got to go out into the field and work on the field team. Because before I was in the office, just on the phones and stuff. And then I went into the field and I loved it. The people. Yeah. So when I went out into the field, I did that as like, I was promoted to part-time on that. And then I moved to my next job, which was a referral from somebody else who I worked with. And that was a full field job. So I was like, ooh, I'm out here. I'm talking to people. I'm getting them set up with their investment accounts. It was amazing. I did that for 8 years. And because I had flexibility in my schedule, I was able to do all the things and I loved what I did. But then after 8 years, I was like, all right, I've been saying the same old thing for the last 8 years. I needed to move around. So I became independent. And so being independent, I'm not attached to any brokerage firm.
Nice.
So now when I went to an independent firm, they were able to help me focus on the actual financial planning of it all. And so I got to, learn and study how to do financial. So we're talking about all the different areas of your finances, from the investments to your business, to your cash flow, to your estate planning, your legacy planning, the whole gambit, So that was what really intrigued me. So then I'm like, oh, I like that even more. So every step was showing me more of what I liked. And so with the most recent move that I did, it allowed me to hone in on exactly what I like and the clientele that I wanted to attract, because I know we're less than 1% in this industry.
True.
So the fact that we here, if we're less than 1%, that means nobody is catering to our communities.
Right.
Because our counterparts don't care about our communities. And a lot of that is because there's not a lot of assets in our community. So, I joined a firm that is fully about the melanin, baby.
Yes, indeed.
So that led me to being able to really be in the career in the way that I show up best.
Beautiful. So I want to ask you, with that being stated, what does wealth management mean to you?
So it means actually building wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you have to have some wealth to manage.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
we have to focus on the building of wealth. And I feel like, especially in our community, we're really good with understanding that we need to make money. Typically, we're chasing the money, we're going up in our careers, we're starting businesses, we're making more money, but we don't know what to do with that money when we get it.
True.
So then if you don't know what to do to turn that income into wealth, then you start over from zero every year. So we need to build wealth, which is the accumulation of assets, and that is what wealth management is for me.
Beautiful. So someone comes to you, has no idea about investments, knows nothing about wealth. They just want to be rich, right? That's what everybody say. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire, right? What does the consultation look like, just as far as educating them on where they are versus this is where we need to be in order to make these type of goals?
So one of the first things I always ask when they're setting out these goals are, what are your realistic goals? Because we have these broad, audacious goals of say, I want to be a millionaire. That's great. Over how long?
That was good.
Because you could be a millionaire making, a certain amount over 20 years.
Right.
Or you could be a millionaire in 1 year. Those are very different plans.
True.
And it's a lot different work ethic and foundation that you would have to have. So that's the first thing. You need to know what time frame you're looking at. And then the second thing is, I need to know where you're starting from and what your end goal looks like.
Nice.
Because people they have an idea of being a millionaire, but they don't really realize what a millionaire is. So you can make $1 million in a year and not be a millionaire.
Makes sense.
You can make $100,000 and be a millionaire because a millionaire is based on your assets.
Right.
So you could literally buy $1 million house and be a millionaire technically because you own $1 million asset.
Okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did.
So it's what does that look like for you? Are you saying I need my overall net worth of all of my assets, all of my accumulations to equate to $1 million?
I love that. Okay, so now we're into assets. And they have no idea about the assets world, real estate, nothing of that nature. And like you mentioned, you've been there, done that. You had the experience of having a portfolio.
Yes.
And so from your own experience, how do you combine that to educate your clients?
So one of the main things I do is I break down assets to really understand an asset is something that grows in value and can produce income. So when you think
That's
about
a quote card. That's the quote card.
So when you think about assets, everything funnels down into 3 main asset categories. So I'll break that down because those 3 asset categories are 1, real estate. We all know real estate, right? That is the biggest one because we hear all millionaires have real estate.
Right.
There's a reason, okay? That's not how they're accumulating their millionaire status. But once you get there, you realize you need some real estate because you need some tax deductions.
Makes sense.
So real estate, every millionaire typically has real estate, not because they're a real estate mogul. They have a good financial advisor and CPA that tells them for these tax purposes, I need you to buy some property.
That makes so much sense.
That's why real estate is one of the most known. The second one is the stock market.
Okay.
So we don't even think about it really, but if you think about outside of owning a home or owning real estate, again, your biggest lump sum of money is typically in a 401k.
True.
You don't typically have money just sitting in your bank account unless you don't know what to do with it, which you need to come see me. But you typically have it in a 401k. That's the second largest asset for the average person.
Gotcha.
And that's in the stock market. The third one is business. And business is either one that you own or manage or one that you work for. If you think about all income that you make comes through those 3 categories.
True.
If you are working for a business, that's where your income comes from. You are the company's asset. But if you own the business, then the business is your asset because it's producing income for you.
Got you. So, okay, I love how you broke down the 3 ways of accumulating wealth, right? How do you fit them in to understand, okay, these are the 3 different ways. Which one is your goal? How do you talk them through that process?
Yes. So I get to know from their conversation what their experience level is. So basically, you can tell me in our first conversation how much you know about each one of those areas.
Gotcha.
Because for somebody who's like, I want to get into real estate, but you don't even own your own property, you don't even know the first step of how to do that. So before you go try to build this empire, you need to know how to do it for yourself, right? So that might not be feasible for us to just jump into there. If you say, okay, I have a 401k, so you're familiar with investing. You may not understand it. You may not have never looked at the account, but you at least know what it is. You know that this is an account that's going to hold some money and be investing. You hope for the best, right? So if you have some energy to put into investing, then we can go down that path. If you are a business owner or you have a side hustle that can be turned into a business, then we can go that route. If it is a route that can be proven that it can make you income. So business ideas and these side hustles,
it's a difference.
It's a whole different story because you can think that an idea is profitable. You could actually technically be in business and losing money.
True.
So I need something that's proven, that's going to actually make you money. And I need to know how much effort you're willing to put into that so we can grow and scale it.
Ooh. Okay, so the approach when we have these conversations, because of course you got to dive into their finances. Do you have some people are like reluctant or they already know like this is what I'm coming to you for? This is a reason of why I have to show you all this information to have these deep dive conversations. What does that conversation look like?
I love that you asked me that because finances are real personal. You all up in the But here's how you have to look at it. I look at myself as your financial doctor. When you go to the doctor, you might have that weird little rash situation going on around there. If you don't tell the doctor about it, they can't prescribe anything for it.
Makes sense.
And they have seen it all. They done seen 1 butt, they done seen 2 butts, they done seen 3. So there's nothing that's going to surprise them. And I tell my clients the same thing. I've been doing this for 18 years. Ain't nothing that can surprise me at this point. I've seen people have more debt than their eyeballs can handle. I'm like, you done went to school for 11, 12, 13 years. You ain't a doctor yet? Like, what are we doing? What are you doing? Like, oh my God. Didn't even know it because they didn't look at all the things in totality. So I've seen everything. So I cannot diagnose anything that I don't know about.
True.
So if you don't tell me, if you don't want to disclose, and I tell them, you can disclose as little or as much as you want to. I can only work with what I know. I've never had an issue with anybody disclosing anything.
Yeah, because at that point, that's your disclaimer. What I don't know is what I don't know. Exactly. So that's on you.
Exactly. Because if I tell you to do something and I don't know the background behind what you got going on over here, it can negatively impact what you're already doing. I actually had a couple that was like that. I was meeting with the husband for months and I realized that he really wasn't acting on it and I couldn't figure out why. And until he had a joint meeting with his wife. And when his wife disclosed, they got a mountain of debt over here that is like choking them. So he doesn't even have the capacity to do the things that I was telling him to do because he's struggling to figure out this eyesore over here that he didn't disclose to me.
Eek.
So I was like, baby, because by the time I had put a whole little plan, because even when they told me about the debt, I'm like, okay, we'll come together with a debt plan and, we'll work with what you have left over. And I put this whole plan together. And at the end of it, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so what do you guys think about the plan? Because I need to know if you're going to act on it, right? And so, he was like, oh, yeah, it sounds good. And the wife, and I'm like, The wife was like, well, I don't really know how we going to do that because the numbers that they gave me were not the final numbers of what they actually had.
Right.
So I said, baby, I can't.
We got to start this all over. Right. This is a
Scratch
wash.
all of that. Everything I just said is null and void because I didn't have all the information. I asked you specifically for the information. You gave me what you wanted to give me.
Right.
And I developed a plan based off of that. And now it is null and void. Yes. So that's how I approach it. So that's why, if you want to get results, you got to be upfront and honest with me. You got to tell me what's under the hatch. You know what I mean?
Lay that on the table.
And then I can say, hey, okay, look, we gonna have to pivot another route, to get this done. Or you gonna have to put in some serious work effort to really get this under wraps.
Okay. So with that being stated, give us one story from complete debt, red pen everywhere, to actually getting them to the other side of reaching their goals. If it was a business, if it was real estate, if it was investment portfolios, whatever the case may be, the 3 categories that you gave. Give us one success story.
So I had a company as a financial advisor. One of the roles that I also do is fractional CFOing, which is where I am your part-time CFO for your company. Because typically, if you don't know what to do with your personal finances, you sure don't know what to do with your business finances.
True.
So I stepped in with this business who had a major tax bill. And they were like, they came up very quickly within a matter of 2 years, went from 6 figures to a couple $1 million. Oh,
wow.
And so that landed them a huge tax bill. And so I worked with them to put in different strategies and techniques to get that tax bill down to where it was eliminated. And then the next year, they had the whole game plan of how to build assets in the company. So we were able to wipe out that tax bill, which was a hefty one, and then put the strategies in place for the following year to where they were able to buy assets in their business. They were able to actually have profit, and they get to make the decision of whether or not they wanted to pay taxes on the remaining amount. Because tax strategy is part of what I'm doing. So it's not that you just come to the end of the year and you get surprised by what your tax bill is.
Right.
If you actually have things in place, you get to determine what your tax bill is.
Okay, so let's transition into our next segment where we talk about highs and lows. You can pretty much anything that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it. This is exciting. And then after that, we're going to talk about a low that made you question if you were in the right industry or if you, anything to question life in general. Because of course you're still here. So let's talk about how that either questioned you and then on the other side, how you got to where you are today.
Yes. So one of my highs was being able to actually find the company that I'm with now that allows me to really operate in my genius. It was the ideal company for me because what I came from was the traditional old-fashioned way of doing things. And what I realized was that my clientele were not being fully fulfilled and serviced in a manner that I wanted to service them because the traditional financial advisor way of doing things does not cater to entrepreneurs. It doesn't cater to millennials because we ain't trying to wait till 65 to retire. We ain't got time for all that. Okay,
we're ready to retire yesterday.
Exactly. We already tired. Okay, retired. We already tired again. So I realized I'm like, me, helping them set up just a 401k plan, put $400 a month and retire in 40 years, that wasn't cutting it. So being able to find a company who caters to millennials and entrepreneurial people and really our community, it allows me to speak the language to a way that it's digestible and understandable. So that was really, really huge for me. And we create, we have a culture that is fun, it's inclusive, and it allows for us to really see that finances are not just boring, where it's not buttoned up, it's not stuck up. You can do, me and my clients have a bomb, okay? If you see this interview right here, this is how we be in there cutting up. I love that because they feel very comfortable with me. They're excited to talk to me and, they're excited to meet with me and they're like, oh, I can't wait till our next meeting. That's how it should be. Before it's like you dread all these numbers, it looks terrible and I don't know what I'm doing and she's gonna judge me. Like it starts off like that, but once you have your meeting with me, you be like, oh, girl.
We have a
like,
good time.
Exactly. Like, we can hang out outside of this. Like,
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? And so I love that because it really allows me to get the fulfillment that I've been searching for my entire career. Because I've always been the type of person who is willing and have a heart to help people, but I didn't feel like I was helping them enough.
Right.
And so now I'm able to really see the transformation and the impact that I'm able to have amongst these clients. Some of my clients are millionaires. This is their first time coming into that kind of money. They need somebody to help service them. But I give them the same attention that I give somebody who is making $100,000. So you're going to get the steps so that you can get to that $1 million. But I am able to really be able to focus on what their needs are and go get those, which is why being independent helps so much, because I don't have to just focus on only selling the products and services that my company is affiliated with. We don't sell products and services like that. So when I get to be unbiased and say, okay, you got your account over here. Yeah, that's cool. But this company over here is better for what you're doing.
Right.
So, yes, so that was a high.
That's amazing. So let's talk about a struggle or a low or something that questioned your steps, but then you got back on your purpose and you're here with us today.
Yes. So coming through my journey, I got a lot of pinpoint areas where I became very discouraged because I felt like I was stagnant. I didn't feel like I could have a lot of room to grow. And even though I was in these larger companies, the next step or the next level was typically management. And I don't want to manage people.
Yeah.
So I remember one of my managers at one of my former companies, he was like, Crystal, you know, you're great at what you do. And, you know, they're going to start looking at you for promotion into the management and director role. And I was like, I don't really want to, because I don't like managing people. I like being with the clients because I know that's where my impact is. He told me, he was like, you know, if they offer you that and you decline it, you're going to be where you are for a very long time because they're not going to come back around and offer that again. And I was like, dang, it was really a realization that I had to come to. Like, what do I want my future to look like? You know, and I didn't see a whole lot of options. I was there for a couple more years before I moved to being independent. And I realized I needed to not be stifled in my growth. And I needed to determine how my growth was going to look. Because I didn't want it to be dictated by, you have to go this route. I wanted to do it on my own terms.
Nice. Okay. You have been given a lot. I'm excited for you. Okay, so one free advice, just one statement, or it could be one word. So you can do either one statement or one word for someone that's listening to just give them some encouragement. A lot of times we pay $5,000, $6,000 to go to these coaching sessions, but then everything goes over our head, right? So let's give somebody just something that they can take away from this episode.
Invest in yourself. You need to understand the value that you have by putting yourself in environments that challenge you. You cannot grow where there is no adversity. So I know throughout my journey, that is one thing that I've always done. I'm always a student. I'm in masterminds, I'm in mentorships because I want to learn from people who are doing it on a much larger scale than me. So it allows me to see it, because once you're exposed to it, then you know it's possible and you can't go back from that. But if you are not willing to invest in yourself and become a better version of yourself, it doesn't matter how much you're exposed to, you're never going to get there because you don't even believe that you're capable of doing it. And that was one of the things, like within this past 2 years, I have forced myself to go outside of my comfort zone. I've forced myself to be out there, and it has given me the validation of saying, you belong here.
I love that for you.
And it changed everything, because I'm like, you know, I've been doing this for a while, but I don't feel like I'm on the level that I should be on. I needed to invest in myself. I needed to get around people who are also doing something on a high level, because then that becomes your new norm. When you're around people who we all doing the same thing, you're never going to be pushed outside of your comfort zone. So with me doing that, I'm like, okay, like they ain't out here playing. I'm over here teeny bopping, like, no, I got to grow up. So that is the number one thing that I know has helped me throughout all of my journey, is investing in myself.
Because it's the motivation behind it, and in those circles. Because it's like, if they're doing it, I can do it. And it's the encouragement. And sometimes the accountability, depending on what group that you're a part of as well.
100%. Because you don't want to be the least in the room.
True.
You never want to be that person where, oh, you know, Crystal ain't doing nothing. Like, we ain't even gonna check. But exactly. You want to have a win to share. You want to have, you know, things that are moving along and shaking, because you want to be in the room and be looked at as an asset. Because I want people, when they think about wealth management and assets, think about Crystal.
Well, with that being said, tell people how they can contact you, website information, all that good jazz.
Absolutely. So my website is crystalroseman.com, and my Instagram is where you can find me, and the easiest way to get in contact with me, my IG is Build with Crystal. So come build with me.
Beautiful. We're about to wrap up. Okay, so we're going to do our motivational moment.
Okay.
And this is either a quote, Bible verse, anything that I see on social media, and we bring it here. So yours is a quote. The best investment you can make is in yourself. The more you learn, the more you'll earn. And that's by Warren Buffett. So it's just a full circle moment.
Because I didn't even know that was the quote, you guys. She didn't tell me what it was before we started recording. So the fact that literally I said Warren Buffett first, and then my suggestion was to invest in yourself, that is amazing. That is hilarious. But that's exactly why I think it's so important. Because your mindset is what determines how far you go. So if you are in a stagnant position, it's because you don't feel like you deserve better. We can self-sabotage ourselves so easily without even knowing it and realizing it, because if you are used to a certain norm, then whenever you get higher than that norm, you're automatically going to put yourself back into your normal state, because that's where you're comfortable. So even if you get money, you end up spending it or giving it away because you know what your normal comfort zone is. So you have to raise that floor. Raise that floor to where it's higher, so that now, you know, there's certain people who ask, like, what is broke for you? And I saw this video, and this girl was like $4,000 in her bank account was broke for her. And the commentary was like, if I got 4,000 left over, baby, I am going shopping. Like, what are you talking about? But that is her floor, right? If your floor is $100, then you need to make it $500. If that floor is $500 now, it needs to be $1,000, because when you keep increasing that floor, you're going to do what it takes to stay above that floor.
Makes sense. Come on, Miss Crystal. I appreciate all this today.
Yes. This is a great conversation.
I'm excited, because that's what we do. We don't have interviews. We have genuine conversation. So, hello. Is there anything you feel like we missed today?
So I feel like, you know, there is no excuse at this point in this state in life. You know, there's information rampant. So whatever you want to do, you're able to do, because there's been so much that has been accomplished in the last couple years. And I've seen it with my own two eyes, just seeing how people are being able to change their life. So if you're not happy with your life, you are the only person who can change it.
Beautiful. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
And if you're listening to this morning, noon, evening, or night, thank you so much for listening to What's Good Podcast, and see you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of What's Good Podcast with your girl, Brianna Jovahn. If you found today's discussion inspiring, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your preferred podcast platform. Explore additional resources on our website at whatsgood-productions.com and find our social media links listed in the show notes. Stay tuned for more captivating stories ahead. Until next time, stay blessed and keep uplifting your community.